Welcome to Lesson 5 for Saxon Math Course 2. We're going to be talking today about place value through hundred trillions and reading and writing whole numbers. Our objectives for this lesson: after this lesson you should be able to name the place value of digits and whole numbers to hundred trillions, write whole numbers in expanded notation, read and write whole numbers through hundred trillions using words and digits. A little bit of review. Last time we talked about number lines. Remember, number lines have the set of integers labeling them, which integers are all the counting numbers and their opposites, plus 0, which is called the origin. We talked about the greater than, less than, or equal to symbols that we use to compare numbers. And we talked about sequences, where we look at a set of terms and we try to figure out the rule so that we can continue the sequence. Remember the two kinds of sequences: the arithmetic sequence where we're adding or subtracting, and the geometric sequence where we're multiplying or dividing. Today we're going to talk about place value. Now you've done place value, but not up to numbers this large. So notice first of all that we have a decimal point here. That's where we're going to stop, because we're not going to talk about the numbers in the decimal places yet. So we're going to stop at the decimal point. Just a quick review first. So each of these, you can think of each of these sections here on their own. Actually, I'm going to fix that because I don't want to include the comma. So we've got these sections of 3 digits. Okay, and you see if we're going through the trillions, we actually have 5 of these sets. So you can think of each of these sets of 3 as kind of their own number as we're thinking about this. And each one of these numbers has a ones place, a tens place, and a hundreds place. So try to remember that as we're going through this, that each one of these sets of 3 is like its own little number. I'm going to erase those then. And then I want you to look at the commas. So we've got 4 commas here. Now at each of these commas, that's where we're going to break up the numbers and say like thousands or millions, that kind of thing. So we're going to start closest to the decimal point. So this comma here is where we would say the word thousand, and you're going to have to excuse my writing on here because it's not super easy to write using a mouse. So that's where we would say thousand. This one here is where we would say, now I'm going to abbreviate so I don't have to write all these. This is where we would say million, so I'll just write mil for that one. The third comma from the right is billions. And then this last one is our trillions comma. So when you're saying these numbers, you're going to say the 3-digit number ahead of the comma, and you'll just say that like it's a hundreds number or tens or however many there are there. So say, well, we'll practice that in a second, but just remember that we say these words at the commas, and that each of these sets of 3 digits is kind of like its own number. We'll get to how to use that in a second, but just keep that in your head. All right. First, after that, we want to look at expanded notation. Now, you've been using expanded form, where we break a number down into its place values right here. So 5,321 breaks down into 5,000 plus 300 plus 20 plus 1. Expanded notation takes expanded form one step further and turns each of these numbers into a multiplication problem using its place value. So instead of 5,000, you have 5 times 1,000, which would be 5,000. Instead of 300, you have 3 times 100. Instead of 20, you have 2 times 10, and instead of just 1, you have 1 times 1. And that all adds up to our original number. So here's another example. If we were going to write 26,300,830 in expanded notation, this is what it would look like. So we start out by writing each place value that doesn't have a 0 in it. So I just put all those place values out there. The 10 millions place has a 2, the millions place has a 6, the 100,000s has a 3, the hundreds has an 8, and the tens has a 3. So then we're going to just put each digit with its place value. So I'm just going to put a 2 here, a 6 here, a 3 here, an 8 here, and a 3 here. And that would equal my 26,300,830 if you were to do all of these multiplications and add the answers together. Okay, let's do some practice reading and writing whole numbers. So let's practice writing first. So if I needed to write the number 20 trillion, what I'm going to do is first I'm going to look at my commas and remember which comma means which number. So I know all the way at the right, this one right here is my thousands comma, which means this is my millions, this is my billions. So the one I'm looking for is this one right here. This is my trillions comma. And that means I'm going to write my 20 in front of that trillions comma. So 20 would be, remember I said this is the ones, tens, and hundreds in those little 3-digit pieces. So I want to use the tens place because 20 is in the tens place. So right now I have my 20 in the right spot. Now after that, you need to fill in all the other empty spots to the right with zeros. So I'm going to fill all these in with zeros. And notice there's three digits to the right of every comma. So this is how you would write 20 trillion. We're going to do another one here. A little bit harder. 50,402,100,000. So let's start with the billions. So I'm going to kind of count off here. This is thousands, millions, billions. That's my billions comma. So I need my 50 billion to be the left of that. So I'm going to put 50. And then I got to look in the next section. So in my millions, I have 402 million. So I'm going to write 402. And then I have 100,000. So notice there's no hundreds or anything like that. So I'm just going to fill those in with 0. And now you see how this works. Each one of these is its own little number. So I have 50 billion. So 50 billion, 402 million, 100,000. And you say those billion, million, and thousand when you get to those commas. All right, let's do it the other way now. So if I'm given the numbers, so let's say I was given a 6 here, we'll do a 2, 1, 7, we'll do 0, 0, 3, if I can make a 3, We'll do 1, 1, 1, and how about 0, 8, 2. Alright, pretty big number. But remember, we're going to kind of split this into sections here by the commas. Okay, so we'll say each part by itself. So we have 6 trillion at the comma, at the break, 6 trillion 217 billion 3,111,082, and then you just put that all together without the pauses. 6 trillion 217 billion 3,111,082. It's a really big number. That's all for this lesson. Make sure you work through your practice problems and put any of your questions that you have on this lesson into the discussion section, and we'll talk about them next time in class. We'll see you in the next lesson.